NFL draft just days away as we examine the curious case of Justin Fields. Once believed to be the surefire second QB taken in the class, Fields' name is now being floated anywhere from pick number 3 to a sizable slide down the draft board. But as of right now, it's all just opinion. What we do know, the kid goes 6'3", 227, and played in 34 games in 3 years between a couple programs you may have heard of, Georgia and Ohio State. Pete Prisco is picking up what I'm putting down with his What They Should Do draft in anticipation for Thursday's Real Thing. Now, buyer beware, this is not a mock draft. This is what Pete Prisco feels these teams should do on Thursday. It's Trevor Lawrence at 1, and we're all in agreement. But then at 2, Justin Fields. He believes the Jets should take Fields at 2. Fields being the second best quarterback in the class. Only time will tell. That would then drop Wilson to 3 before we see a non-quarterback go 4, Kyle Pitts, to Atlanta. We welcome in the author of such musing, CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. Pete, always a pleasure. There's no arguing over number 1, so let's pick up right there at number 2, where you believe the Jets should take Fields. In all of the assessment and tape consumption, a direct line can be drawn from number of collegiate snaps to NFL success. How much does that inform your opinion of Fields relative to the rest of this class?
Well, I think when you look at what he's done, he's been a winner. He's a guy that's improved every year. He's improved throughout the season. You saw that in the playoff game against Clemson, how impressive he was. And I just think he's a big physical kid with athletic ability, can get outside the pocket and move. And all this notion that he's a one-read guy, I don't buy it. You know, you watch his tape, you can clearly see him getting off his first and second read and getting to his third read and making the throws. You know, look, I like Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson is intriguing. He can move. He's big. I mean, he's got the big arm. He's just not a big guy, and he's had injury issues. I mean, he had shoulder surgery on one shoulder. He had some shoulder problems on the other one. He had some other injury issues, and he, as everybody in the league says, he's not a big guy. Not height-wise, but his body type. So I lean to Justin Fields, number 2 quarterback in this draft for me, and if I were the Jets, that's who I would take.
Perhaps a bit of more of a proven commodity in Fields as opposed to his other counterpoints, whether it be Wilson or Lance. Then we go Wilson and Pitts in your What They Should Do top 10 at 3 and 4. Before we get our first offensive lineman off the board at 5. Makes sense the Bengals protect their most valuable asset selected a year ago after what we saw happen to Joe Burrow. But it's not Penei Sewell, rather Virginia Tech tackle Christian Darrisaw. Pete, is this off a position-specific basis, or is Darrisaw really the top offensive lineman in this class in your eyes?
No, I think Darrisaw is the top offensive lineman in this class. I really do. When you put on the tape, look, he reminds me of Laramie Tunsil. And Laramie Tunsil is one of the better left tackles in the league for the Houston Texans, and a guy who's getting better and better every year. If there's one concern with Darrisaw, he needs to get in better shape. It's not that he's overweight. I just think he needs to get stronger in his upper body. But the way he moves, the way he positions himself, the way he handles one-on-one situations, and he's good in the run game. Penei Sewell is a good player. There's not much difference between the 2 of them, but when you talk to a lot of people around the league and personnel people and also in the draft community, everybody tries to make it so that Penei Sewell is like Tony Baselli and Jonathan Ogden coming out. He's not. He's a good player, but there are times, and if you put the Auburn tape on where he got pushed around a little bit a year ago, which concerned me. So Christian Darrisaw, who didn't allow a sack last year, is my number 1 offensive lineman, which is why I think the Bengals should take him.
That's what they should do. It feels like most everybody in the top 15 has an obvious need or has tipped their hand in some form or another, but sitting at 9, the Broncos draft day playbook is largely unknown right now. What do you feel they should do in that 9 slot?
Well, I think when you look at what they have, you know, from a quarterback standpoint, I keep hearing that they're going to stick with their guy. I mean, their guy is Drew Lock. And when you look at it, would I stick with Drew Lock? Probably. Because I think Drew Lock threw 7 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions in his last 4 games. That shows growth. So they could go corner. I don't have them going corner. I think signing Ronald Darby and adding him to that group with Kyle Fuller gives them a better cornerback situation. So who do I go with? Jamin Davis. I think he's the best linebacker in this class. He's from Kentucky. He's 6'3", 240 pounds. And if you put, here's the play right here. Watch this. This is a 6'3", 240-pound linebacker picking off a terrible quarterback in Tennessee and taking it to the house. He can rush. He's athletic. He takes on blocks. He can run sideline to sideline. I think he's the steal of the draft for whoever gets him.
Athlete available perhaps on the defensive side of the ball early in this one. We'll see if the Broncos do pull the trigger. But every year there's a QB, or in this case two, who somehow get a whole lot better from their final snap to draft day. Mac Jones, Trey Lance, both one-year starters, both beneficiaries of some positive pub over the last few months. But Pete, we need you to properly situate them where actually their on-field production suggests they should go.
Yeah, I think they should be mid-round picks. I really do, and I don't think they will be. At least one of them might fall that way, but I think the other one will go. I think there'll be a little bit of a run on quarterbacks. But look, Mac Jones, the Mac Jones phenomenon is unbelievable to me. How a month after he finished his season, when all of a sudden the 49ers decide they're going to make a deal, now everybody's on board. Look how good Mac Jones is. Well, few, if any, and Ryan Wilson was one of them, I give him credit for that, were saying that they thought Mac Jones should be a top 10 pick until the 49ers made the deal. And so now we're all sheep. Everybody's sheep. I always call them the draft sheep. They follow. He says it, so I say it. So I go back and watch it. Oh, I see what you say, and you convince yourself that he is that guy. He should be picked 15th, which is where I have him going. I have him going to the New England Patriots at 15, and that's where he should go. That's where most people had him going for much of the pre-draft process. I have Lance going 14, and people say, well, what do you mean 14? Well, why would the Minnesota Vikings draft a quarterback? Well, Kirk Cousins is on the hook for $45 million next year. If they traded him somehow, some form or fashion, they could get $35 million of that off the books. Trey Lance gets drafted by the Vikings. He spends a year learning behind Kirk Cousins, and then he becomes their quarterback. So I think 14 and 15 are where they should go. I do think they'll probably both go higher than that.
Now let's keep the conversation quarterback-wise here. We spend countless hours, it feels like, every year wrestling over the first half of the first round, but teams are built and championships are won long after that, Pete. Speaking of those championships, the Bucs are picking at 32. They've been linked to perhaps an understudy role for Tom Brady. Trask, Mond, Mills, they could all still be there on the board. They're expected to be at that point. Who would you plant in that coveted chair next to Brady in the Bucs QB room?
Yeah, I'd put Davis Mills there. I think the Stanford quarterback is a really interesting prospect. He's big. He's got a really good arm. He looks a lot. If you closed your eyes and didn't know the number, you'd say that was Andrew Luck sometimes playing at Stanford. The problem is he only has 11 starts, so he's raw. Well, what's a great situation to go in behind Tom Brady, see what he does for a couple years, and then take over. The Bucs don't have holes. I mean, they filled a bunch of them by keeping their guys, and, you know, they could go for a young pass rusher with JPP getting up in the years. But I think if you're ever going to look to draft a quarterback to replace Tom Brady, this is the moment, and Davis Mills would be that guy if it were me.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. We'll find out what they do on Thursday. He's Pete Prisco weighing in.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.